All right, everyone. Good morning. We're doing our analysis on what's going on, the most recent stuff. As I mentioned, that the most recent things that have happened in the last 24 hours that came out in the news. Again, you have to assume this is at face value that Russia has been seen moving its nuclear military train is on the move. Some people, MSN says it's potentially a warning to the West. Daily Mail has said that Putin has deployed the Belgorod nuclear submarine in the last 24 to 48 hours, which carries these missiles, which have the ability to essentially send a underground torpedo that literally creates an irradiated wave of 1600 square feet. Okay, so again, are these posturing or what is actually going on? In summary, to all of you joining yesterday, I recommend everyone go look at the video I did Sunday. We had lots and lots of people on that, and it was a very nice analysis that I provided, a systems analysis, providing all of you the ability to see and think about this. So it's not what to think, so you can see how the elites think about Condoleezza Rice, who was the former Secretary of State, board of directors of Chevron, how she essentially architected the goal of making sure that Europe would stop becoming energy dependent on Russia and become energy dependent on US and NATO. So that was her architecture, which was laid down 2013. And starting in 2014, a coup took place in Ukraine. And since 2014 to today, there's been a war taking place. And in that analysis, I share with all of you that war is always another means of politics that is used to create destabilization and to, as a trump card, quote unquote, a trump card against whoever sees it as a threat. So that's what's really going on. But it's fundamentally about Europe becoming dependent on the United States and NATO for oil and gas, and not on Russia. That's what this is about. I want to also share this is not about being pro Putin or anti Putin, pro Ukraine or anti Ukraine, pro US or anti US. This is more about providing you a systems analysis. The reality is you have a big, massive, imagine from the mafia model, there's a big criminal thug, who is in a neighborhood and he owns 90% of the neighborhood. Okay. And there's a smaller thug coming out who wants to have his own little area and have his own influence. Well, the big thug really doesn't like that. And they're willing to cause a massive shootout, gunfire in that neighborhood, and they don't care who gets killed. The big thug wants to own 100% of that neighborhood. He does not like anyone encroaching on his territory. So if you think about Putin in one way as one of the smaller thugs who wants to grow his area in the neighborhood, and he has his own racket going on, which is building pipelines into Europe, which allow him to profit. And he builds a $10 billion pipeline and he's starting to profit. The big thug is like, wait a minute, we can't allow this to go on. It's our territory. We own this area and we need to knock this guy out. And that methodology of knocking that guy out and how to do that and how to architect that was done by Condoleezza Rice, by all indications, in the analysis that we shared yesterday back in 2003. She was a board member of Chevron and Secretary of State. Okay, not at the same time, but a revolving door model. And she in 2013 articulated it. We must make Europe energy dependent on the United States, not on Russia. Okay, so that's what I did yesterday. And now what we see is over the last 8 years, you have this war situation that has been created. And regardless of what any of these people say, they care about Ukraine or they care about freedom and truth, that has nothing to do with that. It has to do with oil and gas and owning this neighborhood of influence. Okay, so let's get that clear. So Russia is now essentially, in my opinion, in a very precarious situation because their Gazprom pipeline, $10 billion they invested in, a lot of money to build this pipeline to deliver natural gas to Europe, was essentially sabotaged. And even former US military advisors like McGregor, as I said yesterday, say that obviously the United States or UK, one of those people did it. There's no interest in Russia in doing this. Why would you? There's no reason. It's like you're losing your ability to get cash. All right, so that doesn't make any sense. So because of that, and the anniversary of that the day that pipeline was blown up was the same day that the referendum took place in the eastern provinces of 4 provinces of Ukraine, saying they want to be part of Russia. Those 4 provinces were the people who were really pissed off in 2014 when the U.S. installed essentially a neo-Nazi individual with pro-U.S. interests, anti-Russian. So that's where all of this started. But the origin of this is about oil and gas domination in that area. So Putin is in a fix, in my view, because he has no more leverage in Europe. And Europe is in a fix because they have to now rely on US oil and gas and NATO. So Europe is essentially going to be starved of energy. And once that gas is busted, they have to go to depend on US and NATO. And that was the goal of Condoleezza Rice's systems architecture. And I also shared with people yesterday that what's really important to understand is the science of systems. You see, the elites like Condoleezza Rice and about 10,000 other people who are trained at the leading institutions understand the science of systems. And the science of systems is something that can be used to manipulate, subjugate, and enslave people, or can be used to free people. Unfortunately, everyday people like you and I do not have access to this. I was very fortunate to go to MIT and learn this. And because of my loyalty to where I came from and working people, I decided to organize that into a curriculum we've made accessible. And I'll come back to that. But we have to understand the science of systems. Otherwise, we'll be in the pro or anti camp, left or right.